Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. It is week 3 of the Superhero Doll Panel Sew Along, and it is a special week because this is the accessory and clothing week in the Doll Panel Sew Along, and there's lots of fun to be had. So, are you ready to start? Welcome, welcome. My name is Jennifer Long from Be So Inspired. And just a few little housekeeping things before we really get started and we're waiting for people to join. I just want to make sure that you have signed up for the sew along. You can do that on the Be So Inspired site under fabric collections, under sew alongs. And also that you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or join our Facebook group because that's where all of these videos happen every week. So welcome everybody. There are 6 panels, and the wonderful thing about all of the dolls, so that's just a little hint there for you, but all of the dolls is that the clothes and the accessories are interchangeable. So it's really fun and great for dramatic play, but also just, for color coordinating, if you lose them, or, you can have just more options in playing. So we wanted to make sure that there was lots of options for you on the panel already. There's capes and pajamas and masks and shields and all of the things, plus a little stuffed bear. He's got a cape, and then, you've got your doll and all of the stuff. So there's tons to do on the one panel, but if you get a couple of panels, you can mix and match and have sleepover parties and be superheroes. And when I was designing this collection, I kind of imagined that this child, was just an ordinary person, just like you or I. And when they went to sleep at night, that's the pajamas. They put on the sleeping mask, and they could dream about being a superhero. And he has a superhero teddy bear that has a cape, and then he can become a superhero too. I should also mention that there is the dress up panels in this collection that after you're done making the doll, you can make the clothing for your own child so that they can be the superhero themselves. How great is that for empowerment while they play superheroes with their own dolls? And, Halloween's right around the corner, so it's just fantastic for that. But dramatic play is an important part of early years education, and dramatic play consists of acting stuff out, imagination play, but then also them being. So both of these activities, playing with dolls and also acting, are part of the dramatic play. So that is really exciting. There's all of the different colorways in the panels, and there's just lots of options. So today we're going to talk about some of the tips and tricks for clothing. If you haven't already, do make sure that you've downloaded the free PDF. Again, it's at the same location where the sew along is. So you just go to besoinspired.com, fabric collections, and then you go to the PDF. You go to superheroes, and then it's just downloads for this. Free, completely free, and there's lots of instructions, step-by-step instructions, so that you can see what to do. It shows you, it has a layout. It's just like an excellent quilt pattern that you would pay for, except you get it for free when you get the panel, and you just can download it there and see if you can follow along. But today's video, I know I like to keep them short, so we're short and concise, so we can make sure we can get to all of the important details. So I did some step outs to show you, and I'm also going to just show you some of the important things to remember when you're sewing together all of the accessories and clothing. So let's lower the camera and I'll show you. Hope you're doing good today. So as promised, I like to give you tips and tricks in these videos that you can't get necessarily everywhere else. They're just sort of wonderful little extras. So I'm so happy that you're joining us here today. Make sure that you've downloaded this PDF, and you can print it or just read through it on your iPad and follow along. But there's all the steps here. It's just like a quilt pattern. So it tells you, what to do. And then there's a graphic and a picture of it. So it's just so easy and clear to follow, and all the tips and tricks. But I'm going to give you, just going to highlight a few things out of here that I want to make sure to point out. So the first thing I want to point out is that just like when we're making the dolls, if you want to do any embellishment on your pattern pieces that you've cut out, now is the time. So now is the time to do the embellishment. So let's say you wanted to actually give some texture to this. You could add a little bit of a stitch line around it if you wanted to. You can be as creative as you want. In the fabric, there's just tiny little stars and bolts. You can use another color and just highlight a few of those. You can make French knots, and you're going to want to press everything before you actually start to. So you're going to want to make sure everything is pressed, and just the same as you did with your dolls, you're going to trace around the seam allowance, and you're going to sew just on the inside of it. So if you're not sure what I'm mentioning here, come back to video 1 and 2. This is video 3 in the sew along, and I just talk a lot about this technique and about pinning. So once it's all drawn around, you can put that pin right in the seam allowance there on the inside of it, and take it right on the inner part inside, and then you're going to pin there. So you know that you're going to sew just on the inside all the way around. Excellent. So once you've sewn it there, you're going to turn it around just as you have with your dolls, and you're going to press this. I left an opening at the bottom, which is very important that you do leave an opening, and you can tuck in your threads. And then I just did a seam on my machine all the way around. You can stitch it up by hand, or you can have it like this. And now you have the option for closing. So I haven't sewn my doll together yet, but we are going to just see where we want it to close. So there's lots of extra. One is a little bit, one tab is on purpose a little bit longer than the other, and that's the one you want underneath, and then the other one on top, so that it crosses just perfectly over your superhero, and you can mark it out. So I like to have it coming down and sticking out a little bit, but I've definitely seen how some people have had it this way, and that is just great too, however you like little hands to do. You have 2 options to attach the cape here. You can put a piece of Velcro in here and sew it on, and a piece of Velcro here. Or you can use a snaps and a snap button, which I'm going to show you today. And I like snaps because once you put them on, you can't get them off, which makes them, you can, but with tools and a lot of difficulty. So that makes them child safe. And especially if you're giving this doll to a child, you want to make sure that all the pieces are not chokeable, that they can't choke on them, they can't go through a toilet paper roll. So, I'm going to use this, I'm going to demonstrate this for you here. All right, so I'm going to just mark where I want that snap to be. So it's going to be right here. I'm going to make a hole right there, and I'm going to make sure that that lines up and make my hole right there through both. Okay, good. So I'm going to get rid of the doll now, and I'm going to choose, so I got this little package that I got from Amazon, and I'm going to try and choose a color that matches the closest. And I think I might use this one. It's going to be nice. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 of these ends and then 2 different ends. So let me just bring that up closer to show you. So you need one end that has the inside and one end that is coming out, and then you need the 2 outer sides. All right, so I remember I was going to put this one on top, so I'm going to put this here. Now, it doesn't really matter which way you have it on top, although if you're doing Velcro, it's kind of nice if you do the softer side going towards the doll so you don't catch the doll. So it's something you can think about when you're going over and under. The piece that will go here will be the softer side. And same thing here. I like to do the one on top here to be the inside one so it doesn't catch on anything. All right. And then on your machine here by hand, there's a flat spot here and then the rubber spot. So you put the rubber in there, and I'm just going to line it up, and I give it a good squeeze. It's attached that button. So now that button is completely strong. I can still see where the hole is here, but you're going to be careful that you don't attach the button the same way, or you're going to have to close it like this. So you're going to be aware that you're going to close it this way. And so then you're going to put this button in the back first. And I'm just going to double check again, because like I said, it's not impossible to get off, but it is hard. So I'm going to double check that the button is going to be in this direction. I'll put the other end here. The flat part goes on the back, and I'll squeeze it in. And so then I've got the snap. So you don't have to use snaps. You can use Velcro, but that is just great for little hands. It's good for dexterity, and it's really safe. So that's one way to attach that, and it also looks really, really nice. So if you've done your embroidery from before, then your doll will look like that, and you'll have that nice professional look at the top. All right. With the mask, we're just going to talk through this a little bit as well. So I want a piece of batting. So I just got a piece of batting. I'm using actually Stitch and Sew in Fleece. And I'm just going to use this spray and bond because, oh, I love this spray and bond. It just really holds everything in place so nicely. I would put this on here, and I could press it on. You don't need to press it, but I just like everything extra flat. And then I'll put my second piece on top. Again, so when I'm doing panel work here and there's a seam allowance that I'm going to draw out, you can put this on the light box or against a window if you can't see through it well enough. And I'll just draw all the way along, and I'll pin the same way that I have been teaching you throughout this sew along here. So at the center, and I'll flip it open so I can see, and I'll pin again. I'm just going to pin the center so it stays there. I might pin the bottom too. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the elastic. Actually, I won't pin the bottom yet because I'm going to put... So I'm going to take the elastic here, and you're going to measure it on your doll. So I'm going to put this on my doll here. Now, the reason why I don't give you an exact amount is because depending on how you've stuffed your doll's head, I've stuffed mine really, really, really strong. So it's going to be like more dense and wider. But depending on how you've stuffed your doll, you'll have to just measure your own elastic. But you put it right through the back, just like this. Before I turn this over, I'm going to lay it over. And how much do you want it to hang over? So you just account for that. So I'm going to have like a 1/2 inch accounted for it over. And then I want to just pull just gently and have it 1/2 inch account for over here as well. I'm going to keep my thumb exactly where it is and give that a snip. Good. So that's how long I want my elastic to be. I'm actually going to take this off again here. And before I get started, I'm going to sew it. So right here, and then again right here. Just to save us some time, I'm just going to pin this here. It's not the easiest to pin rolled elastic. You can also use, I mentioned in the first video, like a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch of elastic if you prefer. So, I mean, rolled elastic, it's just sort of like, should I even say masks? It's your preference, right? So I'm having that little bit of extra that I had there hanging off the edge, that 1/2 inch. And you're going to need to keep this inside so it doesn't get caught. So a little piece of tape here would help, or you could just simply pin it as well. So I'll just pin it like this to keep it in. So as long as it stays out of your seam allowance, you'll be fine. And there it is. Now when you put your one on top, you can do that pinning again. Good. All the way around. Now I never like to leave the opening at the top of the doll. I like to leave it at the bottom. So I might leave the opening from here to here and do a shortened stitch length on my machine on the inside of that drawn line all the way around, and you're going to trim it. So once you have it there, you're going to trim all of this away, any excess. And you're also going to cut inside the corners, and you're going to snip all the way around here. So you get a nice mask before you turn it. Right, so that's the little tips and tricks for the mask. Same thing for your shield. So the shield can be done very similar. So you can use the sew in fleece for that, or you can use a harder stabilizer. So this is a stiffer one here. It's thin, but it's extra firm. And so I also have that. Plus, I have the sew-in fleece that I've spray and bonded to it. And then when I turn this, I'm going to clip the edges. When I turn it, it's going to be a nice strong shield. But before you do that, if you want to do any embellishments on there, you can do those first. And if you want the elastic sewn on here, you can sew it by machine. If you want to sew it, you can sew your elastic by machine. So this is going to be for the doll's hand. So you're going to want to have it fairly small. You can put it like this from side to side to hold, or you can make it into a loop. And it talks about this inside there. You can sew it by machine there, or if you're going to sew it by hand, then you can wait until the last step as well. So that is your option. But if you're going to do anything by machine, it needs to happen now. And then you'll do the same thing. Make sure you always leave an opening and sew around. Draw and sew around. And the last thing is our pajamas. Okay, so I've done a bunch of step outs here because I want to make all of these. So I've got them all set up and ready to go. I'm going to show each one of them for you. So if you have a serger, then you can serge the ends. I do have a serger, but I wanted to show you just by machine. So I just zigzagged around all of the edges so they wouldn't fray. There, but we're going to finish them. And then I just pinned and sewed the neck from the shoulders to the neck. And again, you can draw there so it looks like this. It's pinned and sewed together at the top. After you've pinned and sewed that together, then you're going to do the first cuff. So you're going to fold this over once and just press and sew it. So you need to do your hemming on small doll clothes. This is tip and trick number, I'm not even sure what number this is anymore, but another tip and trick to sewing doll clothes is you need to do your tiny little, if you're doing them by machine, you need to do them before you close them finally. So next we do this, we sew these, hem them over. And then once those are hemmed, then we can pin and sew on the side seams. So then I sewed along these side seams here. So the whole top part is sewn together already, and the bottom looks like this, all the way open and not yet hemmed. Then we'll go and do the hemming on the bottom. So then you press over and you do your hem on the bottom. And then you can do your final seam inside here. Then you're going to do all of your snips and cuts. So I like to just cut a little bit of that edge on a diagonal off there. And I'm going to snip all the way around on the inside corners here. On this armpit, I'm going to come in as close as I can that I feel comfortable that it's not going to unravel. And then again here, I like to have this on an angle so it reduces the bulk. And it looks like that. Before you turn it, you're not going to quite turn it just yet. So all of this is done. And then you're going to do this neck seam is the final one. So you're going to turn it over and press it. You can do it two ways. You can sew it now around, leave an opening and feed it through your rolled elastic. Or if you feel confident, you can tuck in your rolled elastic now. This is the way I like to do it. It sort of saves that feeding time. And I pin all the way around. I keep it tucked in. Don't worry about pulling it to the very last step. All the way around. Oh my, it's so much fun. And so you've got the both ends coming out here. Don't worry about how much elastic you have yet. So it's tucked in nice and high. If you're going to do it this method, you have to make sure you don't catch your elastic because we're going to need to pull the elastic. So then you're going to feed it into the foot of your machine. If you have an arm on there, you'll take everything off so it can slide around in your machine. And you'll just sew along the edge, making sure you don't catch your elastic till you're pretty close. Then you can pull your elastic as tight as you'd like. You can double knot it together. Since it's rolled, if it's a flatter elastic, you'll have to sew it together. Let it go inside, cut and let it go inside, and then finish off your seam. And there's the neck. Well, I hope you're having as much fun as I am sewing together all of our little doll panel accessories. Let me know if you have any tips or tricks that you want to share. Again, if you're at a shop that you're watching along or you're sewing along with us, make sure you say hi. Everyone can say hi. And if you're a shop and you still have some panels left, you can definitely put that in the comments so we can share that as well. So the superhero panels and accessories. There's lots of tips and tricks. There's even more information in the PDF. So do make sure you download the PDF instructions. And if you really love sewing little things like doll clothes, maybe you might consider being part of our Makers Club. So the Be So Inspired Makers Club is an amazing club where it's for less than a cost of one pattern a month, and you get something every week. You get a pattern every week or a tutorial with PDF downloads, SVG cut files, machine embroidery files, if applicable, quilt patterns and doll clothing patterns. So there's so much fun there. There's a community. There's also, if you're an annual member, then you'll get all the information from the Modern Ragdoll membership in there as well too. So if you're having lots of fun, I hope you consider joining our club for weekly inspiration. And even if you just are making, one of the tutorials a week or one of the quilt patterns a week, it's more than already paid for itself, and you get 4 or 5 a month. So it feels so good to be able to share that kind of experience with you. And I'm so happy that you're here. So thank you so much for joining, and we will see you next week for Stuffing Her Dolls. Bye for now.